In the universe of games, time can be an unforgiving judge. Graphics that were once considered revolutionary today may seem dated, and innovative mechanics can become outdated. However, some platform games seem to transcend this logic, remaining as captivating and functional today as on the day of their release. That's why in today's video I bring you 10 platform games that aged like wine. I'm Matthew, and we start the list with Alex Kidd in Miracle World, released in 1986 for the Master System. Represents a significant milestone in the history of platform games, especially for Sega, which was seeking a mascot to compete with Nintendo's Mario. The game stands out for a variety of mechanics that went beyond the simple act of jumping on enemies. The protagonist's main form of attack, the punch, required precise positioning and careful timing since the range was short. This central mechanic forced the player to adopt a more calculated approach compared to the characteristic jump of its rival, creating a unique and deliberately different gameplay identity. The game's structure is notable for its diversity of levels and modes of transportation. Alex Kidd was not content to keep the player just running and jumping. The introduction of vehicles like the Sukapaco motorcycle and the Pedalcopter helicopter added layers of complexity and variety to the gameplay. The aquatic phases, for example, completely altered the physics and control, requiring a new adaptation from the player. This alternation between traditional platforming, vehicle driving, and underwater exploration kept the experience fresh and unpredictable, a considerable feat for the technology of the time, and a differential in relation to other titles in the genre that focused on a single main mechanic. Over the decades, Alex Kidd in Miracle World has maintained its relevance not only for nostalgia, but for the solidity of its fundamental design. Wonder Boy, originally released for arcades in 1986 and later ported to the Master System, is a title that established the foundations for one of the most innovative and multifaceted franchises of the 8 and 16-bit era. In its first iteration, the game presents itself as an action platformer with a fast pace, where the player assumes the role of Tom Tom on a mission to rescue his girlfriend Tina. The central mechanic that differentiates it from other games in the genre at the time is the vitality bar that constantly depletes, essentially functioning as a timer. To survive, the player needs to collect fruits and other foods scattered throughout the stages, which creates a constant sense of urgency and propels the gameplay forward. The gameplay is built on a solid platform base, requiring quick reflexes and precision. Tom Tom can jump and throw stone hatchets to defeat the enemies that permeate the game's prehistoric landscapes. A notable addition is the skateboard, a power-up that significantly increases the character's speed, but also makes him more vulnerable, since a single hit removes it and leaves the player exposed. This duality between risk and reward, allied to the constant need to advance to collect food, gives the game a dynamic of continuous flow, where stopping means perishing. The jump physics and the character's momentum are adjusted to complement this design philosophy of constant movement. What makes Wonder Boy a title that has aged well is not just its competent platform gameplay, but the legacy it started. The Master System version is particularly important, as it gave rise to two distinct branches. Sega kept the rights to the name Wonder Boy, but the developer Weston kept the rights to the design and characters. Super Mario Bros. 3 represents the absolute pinnacle of 8-bit platform game design, released in 1988 in Japan and later becoming a worldwide cultural phenomenon that redefined not only what a platform game could be, but also established new standards for the entire industry. Developed by the team led by Shigeru Miyamoto at Nintendo, the game was conceived as a radical evolution of its predecessors, incorporating years of player feedback and technical experimentation into an experience that managed to be simultaneously familiar and revolutionary. The development context is fascinating. Nintendo had learned valuable lessons from Super Mario Bros. 2, both the Japanese and American versions. And the team was determined to create something that captured the magic of the original, while dramatically expanding the scope and depth of the experience, resulting in a game that many consider the definitive masterpiece of the genre. The gameplay system is a symphony of perfectly balanced mechanics, presenting a level of depth and variety that was simply unprecedented for platform games of the time. The introduction of the world map completely revolutionized the traditional linear progression structure, allowing players to choose their own paths through the worlds and creating a genuine sense of adventure and exploration. The power-up system was dramatically expanded, with the Super Leaf allowing limited flight, the Fire Flower returning with improvements, and the introduction of the Tanuki suit that offered unique transformation abilities, each fundamentally altering the way levels could be approached. The item storage mechanics in the inventory added a strategic layer that allowed players to plan their approaches to specific challenges, while the extra lives and continuation system was refined to keep progression challenging but fair. Psycho Fox emerged in 1989 as one of the most underrated gems in the Master System catalog, developed by Vic Tokai with collaboration from Yuzo Koshiro for the soundtrack, representing a unique and creative approach to the platform game genre that combined animal transformation elements with puzzle and exploration mechanics. The game was conceived during a period when developers were intensely experimenting with established formulas, seeking to create experiences that stood out in an increasingly saturated market of similar games. The development context is particularly interesting because the team was determined to create something that was distinctly different from established mascots like Mario and Alex Kidd, resulting in an anthropomorphic protagonist with transformation abilities that offered genuinely innovative gameplay mechanics for the time. The central gameplay system of Psycho Fox revolves around transformation mechanics that allow the player to assume different animal forms, each with special abilities that are essential for navigating the unique challenges presented in each level. The bird form allows limited flight and access to elevated areas. The hippopotamus offers greater resistance and attack power, while the monkey form provides superior agility and climbing ability, creating a system where success depends on choosing the correct transformation for each specific situation. The bird companion that accompanies Psycho Fox adds an additional strategic dimension, being able to be thrown as a projectile to activate distant switches, defeat enemies, or collect inaccessible items. But its temporary loss after use forces players to carefully consider when to use it. This interdependence between different abilities and forms creates a type of platform puzzle that was relatively unique for 1989 standards. Mega Man 2 is a definitive example of how a sequel can not only improve its predecessor, but completely revolutionize a franchise and establish new standards for an entire genre, released in 1988 by Capcom as a direct result of fan feedback and Keiji Inafune's determination to create the definitive Mega Man experience. The development of Mega Man 2 is a fascinating story of passion versus corporate politics, as the project was initially developed as a side project by the team during their free time, demonstrating the level of dedication and personal commitment that resulted in one of the most polished and well-designed games in NES history. The historical context is crucial to understanding its importance. The original Mega Man had been a modest success, but not a blockbuster, and Capcom was hesitant about investing significant resources in a sequel, a decision that almost deprived the world of one of the most influential masterpieces of platform games. The gameplay system of Mega Man 2 represents the absolute perfection of the formula established by the original, refining every mechanical element to a level of precision and responsiveness that has rarely been matched in subsequent games in the series or the genre as a whole. The selection of 8 robot masters offers an impressive variety of unique challenges, each with distinct attack patterns, specific weaknesses, and memorable visual personalities that made them iconic in gamer culture. Castlevania III Dracula's Curse represents the creative pinnacle of the original Castlevania trilogy for NES, released in 1989 as an ambitious prequel that dramatically expanded the scope and complexity of the formula established by previous games, while correcting many of the limitations and frustrations that had prevented the second game from reaching its maximum potential. Developed by the Konami team led by Hitoshi Akamatsu, the game was conceived as a direct response to the mixed feedback that Castlevania II had received, returning to the linear platform roots of the series, while incorporating elements of choice and exploration that added substantial depth without compromising the clarity of direction that made the original so effective. The development context is fascinating because the team was determined to create the definitive Castlevania experience, combining the best elements of previous games with significant innovations in storytelling, character development, and narrative structure that would set important precedents for future entries in the series. The gameplay system of Castlevania III revolutionizes the traditional formula through the introduction of multiple playable characters, each with unique abilities that fundamentally transform the way levels can be approached and overcome. Trevor Belmont maintains the classic series moveset with his iconic whip and sub-weapons. Sypha Belnades introduces powerful magic with devastating ranged attacks. Grant Dynasty offers superior mobility with climbing abilities and knife throwing, while Alucard provides a unique vampire perspective with transformation abilities and powerful magic. The branching path system allows players to choose different routes through Dracula's castle, each offering unique challenges and opportunities to recruit different allies, creating substantial replay value and encouraging multiple playthroughs to explore all narrative and gameplay possibilities. Released in 1991 for the Sega Genesis, Sonic the Hedgehog was much more than just a platform game. It was a statement of intent from Sega in its rivalry with Nintendo. The game was designed from the start to highlight the strengths of the 16-bit hardware, notably its superior processing speed, and to offer a more attitude alternative to Mario's dominance. The central mechanic revolves around Sonic's supersonic speed, a concept that influenced all aspects of the game's design. Unlike the methodical platforming based on precise jumps of its competitors, Sonic introduced momentum and flow-based gameplay, where the goal was to maintain speed through loops, ramps, and tunnels. The level design is the key element that allows the speed mechanic to work. Stages like the iconic Green Hill Zone are built with multiple paths, allowing skilled players to stay on the upper, faster routes full of rings, while mistakes or a slower approach lead to lower paths, often underwater or with more obstacles. This design philosophy rewards both exploration and perfect execution. The game's physics, which govern how Sonic accelerates, decelerates, and interacts with terrain inclines, is fundamental to this experience. Learning to control Sonic's momentum, knowing when to roll to gain speed on a descent or when to jump to reach a distant platform, is the essence of mastering the game. Technically, Sonic the Hedgehog was a showcase for the Mega Drive. The game featured smooth and fast parallax scrolling that created an impressive sense of depth and speed for the time. The sprites were large, colorful, and well-animated, especially Sonic himself, whose charismatic design and personality-filled animations instantly turned him into an icon. Ristar is a hidden treasure from Sega, representing a peak in platform game development during the 16-bit era. combining innovative mechanics with a visual presentation that still impresses today for its creativity and attention to detail. Developed by the team that later created some of Sega's greatest hits, Ristar introduces a unique gameplay system based on extensible arms that transformed every interaction with the environment into something special and memorable. The central mechanic of grabbing and stretching was not just a superficial gimmick, but a deeply integrated system that influenced every aspect of the stage design, creating environmental puzzles and action sequences that were impossible to replicate in any other game of the time. Ristar's visual identity establishes a fantastic and colorful world that seems straight out of a children's storybook, but with a technical sophistication that demonstrates the artist's complete mastery over the Sega Genesis capabilities. Each planet visited has a distinct visual personality, from lush jungles to underwater realms and technological fortresses, all rendered with a color palette that maximizes the hardware's potential without ever seeming excessive or confusing. The character animations are incredibly expressive, with Ristar demonstrating a range of emotions and reactions that create a genuine emotional connection with the player, while the enemies have charismatic designs that make them memorable instead of simple disposable obstacles. The true genius of Ristar lies in how it manages to be simultaneously accessible to beginners and deeply rewarding for dedicated players, creating layers of complexity that reveal themselves gradually without ever overwhelming or frustrating. Kirby's Adventure, released in 1993 for the NES, is a notable title not only for being one of the best platform games on the console, but also for being an impressive technical feat that emerged at the end of the 8-bit system's life. The game took the base established in Kirby's Dream Land for the Game Boy and massively expanded it, introducing the mechanic that would become the series' trademark, the copy ability. By inhaling enemies, Kirby can swallow them and absorb their powers. This addition fundamentally transformed the gameplay, going from a simple platformer to a dynamic and experimental experience where the player is constantly encouraged to try different abilities. The variety of available powers is the heart of the game's depth. With more than 20 different abilities to copy, from spitting fire and turning into an invulnerable stone to wielding a sword and shooting laser beams, the gameplay is in constant flux. Each power not only offers a new attack method, but can also interact with the environment in unique ways, allowing access to secret areas or puzzle solving. This flexibility gave players unprecedented freedom to approach challenges as they wished, and the constant discovery of new powers and their applications kept the experience continuously engaging and rewarding. The level design in Kirby's Adventure is masterfully adapted to accommodate the ability copy system. Although the game is known for its accessible difficulty, making it welcoming to players of all skill levels, it is full of secrets and hidden rooms. Many of these secrets require specific abilities to be accessed, encouraging exploration and backtracking within the levels. Dynamite Headdy, released in 1994 for the Sega Genesis, is a product of the legendary developer Treasure, known for its intense and mechanically innovative action games. This title is a perfect example of the company's design philosophy, combining platform action with a unique central mechanic and a surreal visual presentation. The player controls Headdy, a puppet with a detachable head, who must navigate a theatrical world to defeat the evil dark demon. Headdy's main form of interaction is throwing his head in 8 directions to attack enemies and interact with hooks and other scene elements, functioning as a climbing hook and a weapon. The game's genius lies in the head power-ups system. Throughout the stages, Headdy can find and equip a vast range of different heads, each granting a unique ability for a limited time. There are more than 15 types of heads, ranging from a spiked head for temporary invincibility, a hammer head for breaking barriers, a vacuum head for sucking enemies and items, to a head that shoots projectiles in 3 directions. This mechanic keeps the gameplay constantly varied and unpredictable, forcing the player to quickly adapt to new abilities and use them effectively before the power runs out. Dynamite Headdy has aged as an excellent example of game design focused on variety and surprise. Its uninterrupted action and the constant introduction of new mechanics through interchangeable heads ensure that it remains an exciting and engaging experience. Well, that was the video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and see you next time.